Hey, and good afternoon, everybody. Meteorologist Greg Majeski back with you here on the Weather Nerds YouTube channel with your Hurricane Central live update here on the latest in the tropics and things getting active. And as expected, we mentioned this on the morning update. Humberto has officially become a Category 5. That is our second Category 5 to form in the Atlantic. Aaron formed as a Category 5 fairly close to where this one just formed. So top sustained winds now up to 160 miles per hour as continue to move to the west-northwest at 10 miles per hour. We also have officially now Tropical Depression 9, not potential tropical cyclone 9. No, it is a tropical depression formed in the Bahamas. So we got a lot to get to on this update to kind of walk you through and kind of steer you away from what's fact and fiction and keep you on a straight and narrow path. Again, our motto here is to keep you prepared and not scared. And if you come into this broadcast after the fact, if you can please do me a favor, if you'd like to have me as one of your weather choices out there, God knows I know there's plenty of them out there in the YouTube universe. Please give me a subscribe, hit that notification bell so you're alerted on future content. And as always, if you have a weather-related question, you can always post it down below and give me a thumbs up. It does help a little bit with the algorithm. Well, a little bit anyway. All right, let's go ahead and get into this update here. Let's go take a look at our satellite imagery as we're getting ready to lose our daytime, but this is a very impressive looking storm out here. Look at this thing, very nice. Look at that well-defined donut eye there, running about 10 miles across on there. The hurricane force winds are very tight, very compact, very much like Aaron was, only about 25 miles from the center. Tropical storm force winds go out about 125 miles from the center. And then we got Imelda here, what will be Imelda, not Imelda yet, just tropical depression. Starting to get its act together, starting to see that low-level circulation there starting to form there in the southern Bahamas, and this will start getting its act together. The big question mark we're going to have is we have to watch what Humberto does because it's going to directly impact how Imelda is going to form. Now, right now, Humberto is not expected to be a player that's going to bother us, but look at that impressive infrared imagery. Textbook stadium effect, my friend. All the air just kind of coming in and evaporating out the top. Again, one perfectly formed heat engine feeding off those very warm waters in the Atlantic. We're talking water temperatures about 85, 86 degrees out here, and definitely feeding off very nicely off those warm waters out there at the moment. So let's go take a look at that latest track here. Again, here is the track right now on the storm as it's going to be moving up toward the northwest and then eventually make that big arcing turn there. Let me turn this on here so you can kind of get an idea of the path. But this thing is going to stay a major hurricane, get fairly close to Bermuda, but again, staying well off the shore. But this thing's going to generate a tremendous amount of wave action from Florida all the way up the eastern seaboard. So we're going to be looking at a lot of wave action out there. Not from just one hurricane. We're expecting potentially two here with both these storms out there. But what's going to happen with Humberto? And I'm going to spend a little time on this first before I go over to Imelda real quick. Okay, it's a compact storm. If you remember what happened with Aaron, when these compact storms, once they can only hold and maintain that eye for a certain amount of period. And then it has to go through an eye wall replacement cycle, and it never quite gets its strength back once it does that. But what happens to the wind field? Imagine what a skater does when when a skater goes around in a circle and the arms are pouring in tight and they're spinning really, really fast. When the arms go out, they start to slow down, but the wind field spreads out. And because of that, I anticipate Humberto's size to probably double. In other words, those tropical storm force winds, which now are only going 125 miles from the center, will probably go closer to 250. And the hurricane force winds will start spreading out. And that outflow of wind energy going out the top of the system will start to spread out. And that will produce wind shear action over on Imelda. And these two systems are going to kind of get in their same sphere of orbit, and they're going to show up very nicely on the model data when I show you that. And it's called the Fujiwhara effect, okay, when basically you get one hurricane rotating around another one. And it typically is a dominant one. Right now, you got to definitely say, yeah, Humberto looks like it's definitely the dominant one right now because the other one is just a weak tropical depression right now, not even a named storm yet. Although I anticipate by tonight or tomorrow, we will get that named storm. And there's going to be some heavy action along the east coast of Florida. Now, Florida won't have to worry about tornadoes because it's on the wrong side of the system. All tornadoes are on the right side of an eye. So that's where the rotation is for tornadoes. But they'll have some heavy sea action, some squalls, some gusty winds. They'll see that a little bit. And then we'll see how close it gets to the Carolina coast once it moves to the north. So let's go take a look at the other storm. Again, I digress. Here's the other one. So again, Imelda, the top wind's only right now 35 miles per hour. And right now it's going to continue to move up to the north. We do have the tropical storm. These were put up earlier today. They're still there. Tropical storm watches here up along the Florida coast. And of course, we've got the tropical storm warnings out here out in the Bahamas. But it stays offshore. By 8 o'clock, it's south of Charleston and then makes a sharp right turn. And there's a reason for that. That's going to happen is because as Humberto comes up, it's going to grab Imelda and it's going to yank it. Now, the question is going to be, how far does it yank it? Because the way the models are looking is that Humberto's just going to take off and pull Imelda up to a certain point, and then it just loses out. And Imelda, what's left of it anyway, after that happens, because I think it'll get the crap kicked out of it. As you can see, it does take it to a hurricane, then weakens it back down here to a tropical storm by Thursday. Whatever's left of it, it may meander out in the Atlantic for a little while. We may be watching what's left of that system for a few days. So we're going to get in all that as we look at all the model data and stuff. Again, we got a tremendous amount of heat energy out there. This is kind of a heat energy snapshot of the Atlantic right now. It's not as warm as it was last year and the year before. Here's it right here. This dark line, that's kind of your average right now. So we definitely got plenty of heat out there for this thing to feed off. The water temperature's out there, plenty warm, in the mid 80s out there right now. So let's go ahead and talk about the model data. Okay, the first thing I'm going to pull up is I want to pull up the intermediate model. We're looking at the 18Z NAM 3-kilometer run. We're going to look at that one first, all right? I'll come back to the ensemble in a second. So here we go. I want to show you these right now as we're watching this system get its act together. So here is our storm. And of course, the NAM model only cuts off to right about here. It's data, so it doesn't start sensing Humberto until it gets up to right about there. So what it does, because it doesn't sense the other storm in the proximity, it really blows this thing up to a big hurricane in the Bahamas. I don't see that happening that fast. If it does, it'd be a heck of a surprise. Now, if that other storm wasn't there, if Humberto was not there, I'd say, yeah, that's probably looking good. You got the Gulf Stream going through there, some very warm waters in there. I do see that as a potential possibility to watch there. So as this moves up toward the north, and again, those outer squalls will be hitting the outer banks of Florida here. You see that as it comes on up. And again, it'll make that right turn and make it on out to sea. Well, I'll show you the American GFS here to kind of illustrate this and the symbiotic relationship between the two storms. So let's go take a look at that. Okay, here's that snapshot again here. Let me turn my timestamp back on here again. I turned it off because I reset it. There we go. Hide bar. Okay, so here we go. So here's the timestamp there on Saturday. Watch as this goes up. Now, the GFS still strengthens this to a hurricane. We're going to have 2 hurricanes on the satellite imagery at one time, though, if this holds true. So you get this coming up down here. It takes the pressure all the way down to, I think, 975, I believe it was. Yeah, there's 976. So these become 2 storms that become very similar. But boy, this is a textbook right here on how this looks. It really does. They really become almost symbiotic. They become connected. And as Humberto takes off, as this thing takes off, it's going to drag Imelda with it, pull it away from the coast, all right? So as we go ahead and take a look at that and we go forward in time, watch this thing, pulls away, and then Imelda begins to weaken tremendously. It gets sheared apart a little bit there, and it just meanders. See, it just kind of sits there, meanders a little bit, kind of drifts back toward the west there a little bit, might come back toward Florida. Look at that as we go further on. So we may be dealing with Imelda out there for a little while because it looks like what's showing right now is that this is going to pull away and then it gets cut off from the steering currents and it's just going to meander a little bit. So, but again, we saw what happened yesterday with the data was showing it going in the southeast, and there's a high building up to the north. So I favor this solution. I do favor it making the right turn just because of the way the system is going to behave and what typically happens. I'm going on climatology and what I've seen in the past from hurricanes of this type of what Humberto is doing. It's going to grow out, and its influence is going to be impacting Imelda here quite significantly here as we go in through this upcoming Tuesday and Wednesday. So we got to watch. We'll see how this thing behaves as we get closer. So let's look at the coastal areas here. Again, here are the cameras I'll be watching here going the week. We got Jacksonville, Myrtle Beach, Wilmington Beach, the Turks and Caicos out there, the Bahamas. We'll be watching that closely to see how the conditions there begin to deteriorate a little bit as we go into early next week. That's when things will go. But the seas right now today aren't looking that bad, but they're really going to be picking up here in the days ahead. I want to show you the ESENS model one more time. I want to show you this. This is this came in here. This is the European ESENS models here. You see the quick turn showing up there, and there's still a few models that still want to bring it back into Georgia. Watch this thing as it resets one more time. This is a 10-day loop here. All right, so watch what happens here. Again, we're going to watch. Here goes Humberto. We know it's going to make the turn. It's pretty much clear. Here comes Imelda coming on up in here. and then it's going to make a turn. You see the models kind of grabbing it and bringing it this way, but there's still a couple of them that still want to try to bring it into Georgia, although that's not the overwhelming majority of them. A lot of them want to just take it to the right, and then it just kind of meanders here for a little while going into the end of next week, so and even beyond. So definitely a lot to talk about out there. So we're going to continue to monitor what's going out there. I'm going to go back to this image because it's just a gorgeous textbook hurricane there. We've had three major hurricanes. We've had three hurricanes, and they've all been major this year. We've had, obviously, Aaron had 160-mile-per-hour winds. We had Gabrielle, I think it was 135 on that one, but Cat 4 on that one. And now we got this one, 160-mile-per-hour winds here on it. So it's, definitely seeing these very powerful hurricanes in the basin and doing what they're supposed to do, transport that built-up heat in the tropics and move them northward. That's exactly what these storms do and what they're supposed to do. All right, that's it for now. You guys take it easy. We got out there. We got, you got the Irish lady out there today. Hey, good to see you there. And good evening to, is that Elt's post? I can't see. Unfortunately, my stupid chat ninja still don't work anymore, and I got to get a new one, and I can't find a replacement, unfortunately. But I'll continue to find that. I'll get one eventually. All right, you guys take it easy. That's y'all's update. We'll see y'all tomorrow. I'm not sure what time I'll post tomorrow. It might be after church. I don't know if I'll be able to get it done in the morning or not, but we'll give it a shot. We'll see. I like to try to get the 8 o'clock advisory in here if I can. All right, you guys take it easy. That's y'all's update. You guys have a great evening. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. And, of course, we will be doing, if this thing gets close to making any kind of landfall or starts causing some issues along the Carolina coast, we may do some live coverage here for a more extended period here as we get towards, say, maybe Tuesday, depending on how things evolve. But that's what we're looking at right now on Tuesday. All right, that's y'all's update. You guys take it easy. Be good, stay safe, and we'll see you on the next update. You guys have a great, safe day. We'll talk to you later.